Welcome to Module 5 on STPF. We've gotten a lot of interest on this. I think it'll be really exciting, and we have a lot of great speakers today who have been fellows in different settings, and really grateful to have Cynthia here as well.
Thanks. So Marguerite Matthews will be up next, and she is a health program specialist at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke, and previously was a AAAS STPF at the NIH. So Marguerite, the floor is yours.
Okay, so as mentioned, I'm Marguerite Matthews. I guess I'll start a little bit further back. I have a bachelor's degree in biochemistry, but I've been doing neuroscience research since I was in high school. So I've always been interested in scientific inquiry, but never really wanted to be a scientist, if that makes sense. That wasn't really my goal ever, even though I really liked science. And I know that probably sounds strange, but it might make my trajectory make a little more sense. So I got a bachelor's degree in biochemistry because neuroscience, I went to a small liberal arts college for women, Spelman College, and they didn't have neuroscience. It was biology, chemistry, physics, and psychology, but psychology was very much in these social sciences and not quite considered a life science. They didn't really go into much neuroscience, but I liked chemistry in high school, so that's why I chose to study chemistry as an undergraduate. But I decided to get a PhD in neuroscience because I really enjoyed studying the brain. And I wanted to use my chemistry background to understand how the brain worked. So I went from doing my PhD in neuroscience to getting a postdoc. And it seems sort of linear, but I didn't really want to get a PhD. It just sort of happened. And I didn't really want to do a postdoc, but I ended up doing a postdoc because someone asked me to do a postdoc in their lab in a very different sort of area than what my actual PhD was. So I've had a lot of people really guide my career, even though I didn't really have a lot planned out, like nothing kind of was planned. So when I decided to do the AAAS fellowship, I really didn't know what it was about other than science policy, but that didn't really mean a lot to me. So you all are really far, far ahead of the game than I was, and maybe you'll make better choices. And although my choices were great, I love what I'm doing currently. But I knew going into my postdoc that while I was really interested in scientific inquiry, the thing I really enjoyed the most was understanding how my peers were able to get professional development and do what they wanted to do with their scientific background. Even if all of us wanted to go on and be PIs, it probably wasn't going to happen just because of the numbers. And so many people felt like they couldn't say what they wanted to do. Like, you did not tell your PI that you didn't want to be a faculty member. And I was the only one apparently stupid enough to say it out loud and tell people, like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to do something that helps people. Like, I really just want to be of service. And so because I kept saying that, that sort of led me to the policy fellowship. So when I applied, it was probably the only thing that I actually knew that I wanted. I made a plan for it and decided I was going to apply, even though I didn't know what my options were. I just knew that doing science policy meant, at least through AAAS, meant I could be in the federal service and I would be able to use my scientific knowledge and my interest to make some sort of change. I didn't know how I was going to make the change. I might have been writing memos for a director of an agency so they could testify in Congress. Not that I really wanted to do that, but I still wanted to find a way to be of import. So that's why I applied. To be frank, I had done a lot of work in outreach. I started a postdoc recruitment program at my university where I was doing my postdoc to recruit more underrepresented minorities. And that sort of transitioned me into thinking I can use all of these things that I've been doing to make an impact, to do it on an even grander scale across the nation and sort of see what's going on. And it just so happened that I ended up in a placement for policy dealing with the workforce at NIH. So the biomedical research workforce, what policies can be enacted to help to help early career investigators sort of kickstart their careers and be able to become independent investigators. And it was a really incredible opportunity for me. And the thing that I like the most, though, is still getting to work on something that I cared about, making sure that trainees, folks who are getting their PhDs, could move on to the next level and felt like they had the tools to get there. at least as far as NIH is concerned, because NIH has a lot of influence on the biomedical sciences, even if someone is not directly funded through NIH. But I also got a chance to do some really incredible work through the professional development workshops that Cynthia mentioned. To me, that was one of the highlights of being part of the program. And it opened so many doors because it really allowed me to hone these skills that I never learned as a graduate student and had to sort of do on my own, like how to put together a resume, how to be emotionally intelligent. What does that even mean? How to have difficult conversations. And that is actually a skill that you need to develop. Negotiating, all of these things. And I think that really, not only did it help me do my job well, but it helped me think about my life and how I wanted to utilize all these experiences. And then I wasn't just going to be relying on people, you know, holding my hand and taking me to the next experience, that I actually would now be in control and I could choose what I wanted to do and go about it in a very prepared way and feel comfortable about what I was getting into. So I'm happy to talk about the professional development piece of this, but also I went from policy in my fellowship to doing programs. So I'm now in the Office of Programs to Enhance Neuroscience Workforce Diversity at the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. And essentially I function as a program officer. I look after diversity targeted programs to help increase the number of underrepresented minorities in the sciences. But we still do a lot of work with our policy team, with our communications team. I'm not just managing a portfolio, so I have really a hybrid of jobs, which I love. I love the type of work that I do, but I probably wouldn't have gotten this job if it hadn't been for being in the Science Policy Fellowship, because one of the great things that you'll probably hear over and over again is that when you're a fellow, it's like the key to the city. It's just like the secret code that you say that you're a AAAS fellow, and people just automatically want to talk to you. Like, they know that you've been vetted. They know that you're extremely hardworking. They know that you've got the scientific and technical knowledge, but that you also have all these other skills that you either gained through the fellowship or that you brought with you to the fellowship and you're continuing to hone. So folks really are interested in knowing more about you and also asking, I mean, my interview was supposed to be, I think, 40 minutes during finals week. And it ended up being almost 2 hours, almost missed my flight back to Portland from DC because I was just having that great a time with the people who ended up hiring me in their office. And the thing that was so great was that they asked me, what do you want to do? What kind of skills do you want to build? How do you want to make this fellowship yours? And that's really something I don't think I was ever asked in grad school, that nobody really cared about me and my personal interests. It was really always about the science. So I can't say enough good things about the way in which you will just be developed as a person and as a professional in the fellowship. And that I think it's really easy to transition to other things if you find that policy isn't necessarily the thing that you want to stay in. You'll have skills to do whatever it is that you want to do.
Awesome. Thank you, Marguerite. And